Hey, welcome everybody to our subject matter expert series on transforming wholesale distribution warehousing with AI. I am Brian Hopkins, the Chief Operations Officer here at DSG, and we will be joined today in a little bit by the distribution guy himself, Will Quinn. Our show today is sponsored by Distributor RX and our good friends at Epicor. So before we bring in Will, I want a couple things I want to talk about. We're pretty excited about Applied AI for Distributors, June 23rd through 25th in Chicago. You can see the logos that'll be at this show, and I will tell you this show is selling out very quickly. We're nearing the end of our ticket allocation. So if you're interested in going, please sign up today. I do not want you to miss this. Go to appliedaifordistributors.com or click that QR code. This is the lineup of speakers that we've got at the show, and it's a great mix of people who are steeped in AI, but also those who have started practicing AI in distribution businesses. So if you look at Matt Singelman, he's going to be talking to us about AI skills and the future of work. And Jeff Kroom, he is at IBM, and he's going to be talking about one of the most important things is cybersecurity in the age of AI. And then if you look at the distributors we've got on tap, we've got anywhere from Dana Stone, the SVP of Marketing at Graybar, to Natasha Broxton. She's going to be talking about embedding AI into the workflows from a small business perspective. And then Johnny Leroy, he is the SVP and CTO of Grainger, and they have a infamous continuous improvement mindset where he's going to be talking about how do they use that in how they've treated AI. And then two very distinguished distributing executives, Dwayne Roberts, the president at Summit Electric, and Stu Tisdale, the SVP and Chief Experience Officer at ADI Global. We'll be talking about how they're using AI in their business. And then Alan Tchaikovsky, everybody's favorite economist, will be talking about how we're going to have, what's AI look like, what's the economy look like with AI embedded. And then lastly, Nick Pericles and I are going to be working two different workshops. Nick is going to be working a workshop that will help you build an AI agent. And then I'll be taking you through what do you do now that you understand all this technology? What's the roadmap look like for your business? So do not miss this. This will sell out. And if you can't afford or you can't come for 2.5 days, that's a little too much time for you. We've created two new one-day forums. One of them in the great state of Georgia at the Georgia Tech Center on August 12th. And the other one is across the pond in Birmingham, UK on October 15th, 2026. These are designed to teach you in one day what you need to know about AI and what it's going to mean for your business. So sign up for those today. If you can't spare the time to come 2.5 days, these are perfect for you. And last thing I want to talk about is Distributor RX, and that is our software suite built by distributors for distributors. It's really 3 different pieces of software. They can be used individually or in conjunction with one another, but they're made up of customer experience, which I can tell you by my experience, this is the only customer experience measurement tool out there that is distributor focused. It gives you actionable insights on what to do about your customer experience, where it's working, where it might not be. So if you've got an inventory problem in your branch in Cincinnati, or you've got a counter problem with your branch in Phoenix, this is going to give you that level of detail to fix your overall customer experience. An employee experience is built on the exact same infrastructure, but it's built to give you that insight that you need to make sure your employees are getting what they need from you. Very actionable, very, very relevant to your business. And of those 2 pieces of software, not only do you get the data, but you get the years of experience that DSG offers in terms of what do you do about it once you see it. So we provide you with all the level of insight, and we give you our experience on what you can do to fix that. And then Demand RX is the last one, and it's one of the most important, right? It's sales. So this gives you the opportunity to understand what's your estimated sales potential by the product line, by the account. So as you're looking at new opportunities within your customer base, you've got your salespeople pointed in the right direction. All right, I want to bring on Shreyasa from Epicor, and she's going to talk to us about what's going on at Epicor. And it's good to see you today, my friend.
Hi, Brian. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I am Shrasi Ganguly from Epicor Distribution Team. I'm a senior marketing analyst based in Denver, Colorado. I have been with Epicor for about 3 years, supporting marketing programs for distributors. But first of all, thank you so much. We are happy to be a sponsor here. Next slide, please, Brian. Okay, so today Will Quinn will be talking about warehousing and AI, two things we love to talk about at Epicor too. Our warehouse management system includes a powerful range of features that will help you manage warehouse activities, saving your time and reducing errors. Next slide, please. Our warehouse management system is even more powerful because of the AI embedded in Profit 21. Let's watch this video quickly.
Epicor Prism, embedded into Profit 21, brings AI to your inventory team. Your warehouse manager might ask, how is usage trending for this item? Prism responds, go deeper. Are these items with terms due still on back order? Prism will provide an analysis, including breakdowns of peaks and drop-offs. With Epicor Prism, you can expect informed decision-making, more accurate forecasting, personalized customer service, and overall operational efficiency.
So as we speak here, we are developing AI use cases significantly for distributors. We do this not because it's cool stuff, which it is, but because we know how powerful AI will be in helping you drive efficiency, accuracy, and ultimately freeing up your team to spend more time what we think we still need humans to do. So, as you listen to this webinar and think about your technology plans for this year, think about Epicor. If you are in the market for new tools to support your growth, we would love to talk. Thank you so much. Back to
Awesome. And thank you for being here. And Epicor is not only a great partner, but they're great ERP. I've had experience in a couple of different places with Epicor product, and you guys are always ahead of the game. So thank you for being here. All right, let's bring on the star of the show, Mr. Will Quinn, the distribution guy. What's up, buddy?
Hey Brian, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm very, very excited to hear what you've got to say today because we've spent I don't know how many hours talking about the front end of the house in AI and what's that going to do for sales and service, and we don't spend enough time talking about what impact that's going to have on the back of the house, right? Where all the actual work gets done. So I'm glad you're here, and love to hear you start telling us what's going on.
Super. Well, it's great to be here. Thanks so much to our sponsors, the Distribution Strategy Group, and to Epicor. I'm really excited about this, and it's always great to be in the presence of another Chicago Bears fan.
That's right. We keep going back and forth with this. Bromance is kind of cool with the Bears and the White Sox together. How can we lose? And we're operations guys.
There we go. Just
There we go.
took care of the Cubbies this past weekend. 2 out of 3.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
We got to be careful. We might have some Cub fans out there who might be.
That's
a little
okay.
different.
That's all right.
All right.
I don't hate the Cubs. My grandfather pitched for them back in the day. So, if you don't mind, can I share my screen?
You go for it, man.
All right, perfect. Thanks again, and thanks to everybody for joining in and listening today. So the title of today's session is Transforming Wholesale Distribution Warehousing with AI, and I want to be clear and upfront what that means. So the new normal in warehouse operations is this. AI is no longer a future state conversation. It's happening in distribution warehouses right now, and the question isn't whether AI is relevant to your operation. The question is where it's actually earning its keep and where it isn't yet. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about here. So I'm Will Quinn. I'm the distribution guy. That QR code will send you to my LinkedIn page so we connect there. And again, I'm the distribution guy. If anybody else claims that title, they're lying because I trademarked that phrase. So a long time ago, I cut my teeth in logistics in the Marine Corps, and I've been in and around wholesale distribution over the past 25 years. I also spent time at Infor, a large software company, and that really allowed me to experience technology from both a user and a provider's perspective. All right, let's dig in. There's a lot on this slide, but it's just a small slice of the pie of the problems distributors are facing. And many of these issues aren't new. Distributors have been struggling with them for decades. But what sticks out to me here is the technology debt. And many distributors are still using AS400 green screens. So artificial intelligence, along with automation and other technologies, is advancing fast. And distributors are looking to AI to help solve some of the problems and the issues that they face. So here's what we're going to cover today. We'll focus in on 4 warehouse applications where AI is already showing practical value, then cover what it takes to implement, evaluate vendors, and measure ROI without getting buried in hype. Does this image look familiar to you? Clean data means that your WMS tells the truth without needing a detective. You've got consistent item numbers, locations, timestamps, users, quantities, reason codes, and transaction types that match what actually happened on the floor. From a practical standpoint, it means you can pull 18 months of receiving, put away, replenishment, picking, packing, shipping, adjustments, cycle count activity, and trust enough to spot patterns, build labor standards, improve slotting, and feed AI without first spending 6 months cleaning up the mess. Now let's ground the conversation. Most distribution leaders hear AI and they think of one of 2 things: ChatGPT or robots. And neither of those is the right frame for this conversation. In a warehouse context, AI does 3 things. It predicts, so demand patterns, labor needs, replenishment risk, and order flows before they become operational problems. It recommends slot moves, staffing plans, batch logic, and inventory positioning based on your actual data. And it optimizes pick paths, order sequencing, replenishment timing, and work balancing in real time. Here's the framing I want you to carry through the rest of this session. AI is not replacing warehouse leadership. It's giving warehouse leaders better visibility, faster analysis, and better recommendations. Your judgment still matters. In fact, it matters more because now it's informed by data instead of instinct alone. Before we get any specific application, you need to understand the foundation that AI requires. There are 4 building blocks, and if any of them are weak, AI does not deliver intelligent, it delivers expensive noise. First one is process discipline. Standard work, clear slotting rules, clean receiving, consistent replenishment. If your processes are inconsistent, AI learns inconsistency. Reliable data, a solid item master, a clean location hierarchy, 12 to 18 months of clean pick transaction history, and labor actuals. And we'll spend some time on this one. System connectivity, WMS, ERP, labor tools, scheduling, and reporting all need to be connected and communicating. AI is only as smart as the data it can see. And then finally, leadership adoption. Supervisors who understand the recommendations are willing to act on them. Technology without human commitment is shelfware. Remember this framework as we walk through each application. Every implementation challenge you'll encounter maps back to one of these four. Now let's start with the application that typically delivers the fastest ROI with the most manageable implementation, which is AI-driven slotting. Now, who remembers the old Showtime rotisserie and barbecue? The whole idea was that you put your chicken in the oven, you set it, and forget it. And unfortunately, that's how many warehouses are slotted. They're set up once and then never changed again. If you do have a slotting strategy, you're probably looking at it on an annual or maybe a quarterly basis. You've got velocity data that's pulled manually from WMS reports. Your warehouse manager's tribal knowledge drives most of the decisions, and product positions go stale between reviews because nobody has honestly had the time to update them continuously. The AI way is fundamentally different. It's continuous and dynamic. The system pulls live velocity data, seasonality patterns, and pick path data. It recommends specific slot changes with projected time savings attached. It accounts for item affinity, weight, ergonomics, and replenishment impact. And critically, a human reviews the recommendations and decides which ones to implement, keeping you in control. The key shift is from becoming reactive to proactive instead of fixing problems after they've been causing labor waste for months. You're making incremental improvements continuously. Now let's talk about what documented results look like. I'm going to give you 3 data points and then one real-world case study. So Lucas Systems, across 400 plus warehouses, documented a 20 to 40% throughput improvements from AI slotting. Portable Intelligence documented 5 to 20% productivity gains across high SKU early adopters last year. And one retailer cut fulfillment time by 35% after a full AI slotting deployment. One case study I want to highlight is Kenco Group's Slot DC platform. It published a study that delivered a 27% reduction in travel distance and a $247,000 in documented annual savings. And that number won the Warehousing Automated Picking Solution of the Year from Supply Check Breakthrough in 2023. Now, these range in numbers from variability in operations, higher SKU counts, tighter labor patterns, and cleaner data produce results towards the upper end. The lesson is, know where your operation sits before you project your ROI. Now let me walk you through a concrete example of how this works in practice. So you start with a fast-moving SKU that's 220 feet from a pick path, and it was slotted there during a reset a couple of years ago, and unfortunately nobody has updated it since. Now AI sees it differently. It sees a SKU that appears on 38% of daily orders, is frequently picked with 2 related items, and is generating repeated travel waste. The pattern is obvious in the data, but it was invisible to humans because simply nobody had the time or the tools needed to analyze it properly. Now, AI recommends to move it to a prime pick location near related SKUs with a projected savings of 3.2 minutes per order. And then a human validates that. So the warehouse manager checks the cube, the weight, the ergonomics, the replenishment impact, and move timing before approving. And the result is less travel, cleaner picks, fewer touches, and better labor productivity. That multiplied across hundreds of SKUs is where your documented ROI comes from. All right, next up is labor planning. The labor planning is where most distribution operations bleed money quietly. A typical process is a supervisor builds next week's schedule from last week's actuals, experience, and gut feel. It's reactive by design. So AI labor planning works differently. The system ingests volume forecasts, historical productivity rates data, seasonal demand curves, and then generates staffing recommendations by zone, shift, and function. Instead of reacting to being short-staffed, you know where you'll be short-staffed before the problem hits, and then you can make an adjustment. The headline number I want you to remember is that one deployment across 7 sites saved $1.1 million in less than 12 months, with a 60% reduction in overtime hours and a 22.7% improvement in worker realization. That's a real deployment and real numbers. But to get there, you need WMS order feed data, labor standards, whether engineered or estimated, historical actuals by function and zone, and integration with your scheduling system. If those 4 are in place, the ROI case builds quickly. Next up is picking optimization. Pick labor is the largest variable cost in most distribution warehouses. AI attacks it from multiple angles simultaneously. So, path optimization calculates the most efficient pick routes in real time, factoring in slotting positions, pick density, and current congestions. Pickers travel less time and pick more. Batch and zone logic dynamically groups orders for batch picking and assigns pickers to zones based on order profiles and individual productivity data. Sequence optimization releases work based on real-time dock schedules, trailer positions, and order priorities. So ultimately, the right work goes to the right picker at the right moment. And then the documented results. 30% reductions in walk and travel time, 25% reductions in labor pick costs, and measurable output increases per shift. When picking optimization is layered on top of good slotting, the compound effect is significant. All right, lastly, inventory positioning. Now, inventory positioning is where slotting, replenishment, and demand planning intersect. Think of it this way. Slotting tells you where things live. Inventory positionings tell you where they should be and when. Now, artificial intelligence predicts when forward pick locations will be depleted and triggers replenishments before stockouts occur, not after a picker goes and finds an empty bin. And that's a core value proposition. Connected to ERP forecasts, AI adjusts inventory position by season. High velocity SKUs in Q4 need a different placement than Q1, and the system handles this transition proactively. For bulk storage, AI determines optimal bulk pack, case, and pallet positioning across bulk and forward pick zones based on velocity tiers and order profiles. The compound opportunity is this. When slotting, replenishment, and demand planning are all connected and all feeding the same AI engine, you can unlock 7 to 15% additional capacity in your existing facility without adding 1 extra square foot. And that's a meaningful number. Now that we've covered the 4 applications, let me be specific about the operational environments and AI, where AI consistently delivers real ROI. Because not every warehouse is the right environment for this. So, high SKU, high velocity operation with tight labor standards. The algorithm has more to work with, and the savings per optimized move are larger, and that's the sweet spot. So, multi-shift facilities with labor variability, operations where overtime and staffing gaps are recurring problems. Artificial intelligence labor planning pays back fast here, sometimes in 12 months. Operations with clean WMS data. If your transaction history is solid for 12 to 18 months, AI trains quickly and recommendations are trustworthy from day one. Data quality is a force multiplier. And facilities already measuring performance. Picks per hour, order accuracy, units per shift, If you're already measuring, AI has benchmarks to improve against. No baseline, no ROI proof. And the summary is picks per hour matter when you have 500 plus active SKUs, and this technology deserves a serious look. Equally important is where not to go. Not every warehouse is ready. Not every AI tool delivers on its demo. And here's where to pump the brakes. So small, low complexity operations running 50 SKUs and 100 orders a day, the ROI math doesn't work. Implementation costs exceed any optimization opportunity that scales. Facilities with poor data quality. AI amplifies what's already in your data. So inconsistent item masters, missing pick history, or unreliable WMS records produce unreliable recommendations at scale. Garbage in, garbage out is not just a cliche here. Optimization with no WMS integration possible. You can't optimize what you can't see in real time, and manual system and batch only exports won't really support AI properly. And perhaps most importantly, pilot purgatory situations. Be very wary of the 18-month pilot that never scales. Pilot purgatory is what happens when AI project looks promising in a controlled test, but then never becomes part of the daily operating rhythm. The tool stays stuck in evaluation mode because the data, integration, ownership, training, or change management was never strong enough to support a real rollout. The next question I want you to ask every vendor you talk to is, tell me about a deployment that didn't go well. Their willingness to answer that question honestly is your most reliable quality signal. Before we get into the reality of implementation, I want to share what I call a completely accurate and scientifically verified chart. Anybody seen this? So the vendor says it'll be 3 months. IT says 6 to 9 months. And on the bottom, you see what's actually happening. It's still going. So if you've been through a major system implementation, you're nodding right now. So the point isn't to be cynical about vendors. The point is to budget more money, budget more time, and expect the unexpected. Vendors that are worth working with will actually tell you this themselves. All right, the technology is typically the easy part. Here's what a realistic implementation actually looks like. So phase 1 is your diagnostics and roadmap. 2 to 4 weeks. You assess your data quality, map your WMS capabilities, identify the high value use case, and define measurable success criteria and build the business case. Don't skip that phase. The idea, a lot of time the temptation is to jump in head first and work without pre-planning. Resist that temptation. Phase 2 is a pilot deployment. 3 to 6 months, a single workflow, a single facility. You define success metrics before day 1, not after you've already told the CFO that the pilot worked. And then phase 3 is an enterprise rollout. 18 to 36 months, multi-sites, multi-function department deployment. This is where most companies underestimate the complexity and most vendors overestimate speed. This is a consistent pattern I see. Most companies underestimate the data preparation work. Most vendors understate the timeline, so budget accordingly. Now, these aren't fixed numbers. You could have a deployment that takes less time. You could have a deployment that takes more time. There's a lot of variability, but these are some good baselines. All right, here's where most AI implementations either fail or succeed before they even start, which is your data readiness. And most distributors don't find out they have a problem until they've already signed the AI contract. And that's a painful and expensive way to learn a lesson. Audit first always. For warehouse AI to deliver real value, you you typically need a decent foundation. We've talked about this before. Ideally, 12 to 18 months of reasonably clean transactional history, reliable SKU master data, pick activity tracked at the location level, some form of labor productivity baseline, accurate lead times or replenishment related records were relevant, and a mapped, validated WMS location hierarchy. The hard truth is that most distribution operations have messy data. That's not a knock on the people. This is what happens when systems evolve over years, sometimes decades, with different priorities, different leaders, and unfortunately, a lot of workarounds. And if an AI vendor tells you that data prep will take 2 weeks, be careful. A typical mid-mart operation, a real data readiness work often takes 3 to 6 months. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how disciplined the operation has been. It's the difference between AI that helps your operation and AI that gives your team bad advice with a straight face. All right, technology stack. Your current WMS is either your greatest AI enabler or your biggest obstacle, and you need to know which before you sign anything. So ask your WMS vendor 3 questions. What AI modules do you offer natively? What's your 12-month AI roadmap look like? And can AI read and write back to the WMS, or does it only read? On your integration checklist, confirm that your AI can read and write back to the WMS, not just function as a reporting layer. Confirm that your ERP demand signal integration is available. Confirm real-time data feeds, not just batch exports. And here's the watch out. AI that can only work as reporting layer on top of your AI is not WMS-driven operations. It's a better dashboard. Now that might have value, but be clear about what you're buying. The good news is that most major WMS platforms have been investing heavily in AI integration over the past couple of years. If your WMS vendor is not working on that roadmap, that in itself is important information. Now here's something that every technology vendor underways and every experienced operator knows. Your best warehouse manager may be your biggest obstacle and your most important ally, often both at the same time. I call this the 22-year manager problem. A supervisor who has decades of experience, who's built their career on trusting their instincts, is now being asked to trust and follow recommendations from an algorithm. That's not a technology problem. It's a change management problem and requires a human solution. Transparency is non-negotiable. Your team needs to understand how the recommendations are generated, so show the work. If the AI says move this SKU, the supervisors should be able to see why. Involve your frontline supervisors in the plot design from day one. People support what they help build. That's not a management platitude. It's the consistent pattern in every successful project I've seen. And then find your internal AI champion before you buy anything. Every successful deployment has a person inside the organization who owns it, who believes in it, and can translate between vendor capabilities and operational needs. That person is worth more to your implementation than any feature the vendor offers. All right, let's talk about evaluation scorecard. Here's a framework you can use in your next vendor conversation. 6 questions. Pay attention not just to the answers, but how they answer. First thing is similar operations. Can you show me a live deployment in an operation like mine? If the answer is only polished demos, that's a red flag. Implementation. Who's on site? For how long? And what happened when things break? If the answer is customer-led implementation from week 2, walk away. Data ownership. Who owns my operational data? Vague contract language here, should stop the conversation entirely. Failure history. This is an important one. Tell me about a deployment that didn't go well. The vendors with no failure stories to share have either no significant deployments or they're hiding something. Total cost. What does this cost in full in 24 months? Licensing pricing is a starting point, but it's not the final number. Integration, training, change management, and data prep all cost money. Exit plan. And how do I leave the platform if I need to? No data portability is a deal breaker, full stop. The vendors worth working with welcome every one of these questions. The ones who hesitate are telling you something important. All right, let's look at what realistic ROI looks like and put some hard numbers on it. And we're very direct. Be skeptical of any vendor that's projecting year one payback unless the math is bulletproof and it's independently verified. So the first one, AI slotting. You typically expect 5 to 20% productivity improvement with a typical payback of 12 to 24 months, faster for higher SKU operations with clean data. And for labor planning, 10 to 20% labor cost reductions with a 12 to 18 month payback. For picking optimization, up to 25% labor reduction with an 18 to 24 month payback. 30% travel time reductions really drives these savings. And then inventory positioning, 7 to 15% capacity gain with an 18 to 36 month payback. The compound benefit is highest when linked to slotting and forecasting. Measuring KPIs. So define these before you deploy. Measure them for 90 days before going live, and this is how you prove or disprove the ROI. Now, every warehouse I've been in has some form of KPI that they're measuring. So the more data you have on labor efficiency, slotting health, quality, inventory health, the better your ability will be to measure your ROI. The principle is no baseline, no ROI proof. Have the measurables before you deploy. Here's your starting point. You're going to leave this session with a lot of information. Here's a 5-step sequence to put it into action. Number 1, audit your data first. Run a data quality assessment before talking to vendors. WMS history, item master accuracy, labor tracking. It takes 2 to 4 weeks and saves months of wasted implementation time. 2, identify and define your biggest operational pain. What's that one KPI that you just can't crush? Is it overtime, pick accuracy, slot efficiency? Pick that one measurement, that one metric that's costing you the most money, and that becomes your pilot use case. 3, evaluate 2 to 3 vendors against real criteria. Use the 6 scorecard questions from previous slide. Reference calls with live customers similar to your operation, not demos, actual deployments. 4, run a pilot with predefined metrics, a 90-day minimum, one function, one facility, success criteria defined before day 1. If the vendor resists defining metrics up front, that tells you everything you need to know. And number 5, build your internal AI champion. Identify who on your team will own this. Give them the time, the resources, and the authority. AI without ownership fails every single time. And don't try to boil the ocean. One problem, one pilot, one set of metrics. Prove it, then expand. The key here is to start somewhere. AI is new to most of us. Mistakes will be made. If at first you do not succeed, try and try again. 6 things I want you to walk away with today. Number 1, AI is real, and so's the ROI. So are the implementation challenges, so go in it with eyes wide open. Number two, slotting and labor planning offers the highest ROI to complexity ratio. Perhaps you start there. Number three, data readiness is your number one prerequisite. Audit before you buy every time. Number four, evaluate vendors on track record in operations like yours, not on decks or on demos. Number five, define your KPIs before you go live. If you can't measure it, you can't prove your ROI. And then six, change management isn't optional. Your people know the difference between a tool and a transformation. The closing thought I want to leave you with is this, is the winners in this space will not be the distributors who chase after every AI tool. They will be the ones who clean up their data, tighten their processes, and choose the right use case and execute better than their competition. And with that, I'll take questions.
It doesn't look like we've got any right now, Will. Let's talk about a couple of things I found really interesting in what you talked about. Part of was this whole idea of change. The manager who used to have to kind of work on instinct now has to start to interact with what AI is telling them that might be counter to what they've always known. So if you put yourself in a management role in a warehouse where that dynamic is happening, what do you tell that guy?
It's tough. It's hard to accept it, but I think a really good example is: do you use Waze when you drive?
Yeah, of course.
That's AI. Well, when I started using it, you go to the lake house in Indiana from here, and there was a time where it suggested going way out of the way. It just didn't make any sense. I'm like, this AI has no idea what it's talking about. Yeah. Until the traffic just stopped because there was a huge accident, and then I sat there for an hour waiting. So it's a matter of trusting the AI, and that's going to come through experience. So if you have a slotting AI, it may recommend changing 4 or 5 things, and you may look at that and be like, that doesn't make any sense at all. But when you put it into place, then you see it, right? Interesting, when I was with Infor, I was working with a team that was developing use cases for AI with the WMS. And a good example was, when you go to Amazon and you put something in your cart, towards the bottom, it'll say, well, people who bought this also bought this and this, right? So it's like, how can you use that in a warehouse setting? Well, if you have item A, and if 50% of the time people also order item B, well, those should be slotted next to each other, right? And having that access to that information, because that's a very complex problem to do. I tried doing it. I just couldn't figure out how to make the Excel work. But having the AI do that, you put those two next to each other, and that takes out a lot of labor costs. And that's now a function that you'll find in the Infor WMS. And I'm sure Epicor has similar capability. So that's what I would say is that it's new to folks. People are going to question it, but just like I questioned Waze in the travel routes. But once they start experience it, then you'll see the buy-in. Then they won't be able to live without it.
Yeah, warehouse managers among all people in distribution are the most show me the results, right? So if it starts getting the results that you expect, then they will definitely buy in. And the other thing I think that, one last thing I think it brings to light is the inefficiencies that happen when leaders leave or move or are off for a period of time. And I call this the Brian Wilson effect, right? When I was at HG Supply, Brian Wilson ran that warehouse like nobody's business. Everything ran smoothly, processes were worked, orders got out on time, everything. But it was all a manual process. So when Brian went on vacation for 2 weeks and Adam had to step in, sometimes it wasn't always a smooth ride. Now this AI starts this orchestration you talked about, starts to kind of level the playing field so that you don't have to worry about that kind of.
Well, that and the other thing that that AI can't fix is broken process and procedure. Like if you want your customer to have a consistent experience, then you need to have consistent processes and procedures all the way through your operation. The way you receive has to be the same every time. The way you put away, the way you do your quality checks, the way you do your cycle counting, your picking, your packing, and shipping. All those processes need to be documented and consistent. And that's where you really the AI can make some hay, because it's going to happen consistently every time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it looks like we have a question from the audience. What are some of the signs that you're even ready for a WMS system? So even before AI, that you were just ready for a WMS.
Sure. So you get this question a lot, and so you really look at, well, what am I trying to do in my operation, and what are the capabilities that I need, right? So if you want to do something like directed put away, right? Item comes in, I scan it, and it says, put this skid in this location. Well, in order to have that capability, you're going to need a WMS, right? And in order to have that, you have to have all of the data information within your WMS. How much it weighs, how big it is, how much SKUs it takes up, space it takes up, that sort of thing. So really, when it doesn't matter if it's a WMS or a WES or a whatever the other three, YMS. It really depends on, what am I trying to accomplish? What are the capabilities I need? And does my current ERP and the warehouse capabilities within it, does that satisfy it? Because if it does, great, right? There's no sense in getting extra technology to complicate things when it's not needed. Now, if you want capabilities like task interleaving or directed put away or labor management, typically you're going to need that WMS in order to facilitate those type of capabilities.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. All right, Will, thank you, my friend. And do not hesitate to pick up Will's book, Modern Warehouse Management, Steel-Toed Leadership That Actually Drives Performance. Will, thank you for being here, my friend. I am going to steal the screen from you here for a second, and I do want to share with the audience just a couple of other programs that are coming up in the next couple of days. So tomorrow, we've got our wholesale change with a couple of heavyweights from distribution. David Collier, the SVP and Chief Logistics Officer at Aero Electronics, and Dana Stone, the SVP of Marketing at Graybar, are going to join Josh Bardell, Principal Global Industries at Conga, formerly Pros, along with Dr. Jonathan Bine. They're going to have a conversation about what's trending in distribution now. So please sign up for that. That's going to be a really great discussion. And then, as our marketing guy likes to say, our robot friends, we are going to be releasing the State of Agentic AI in Distribution on May the 27th. So myself and Dr. Jonathan Bine will be talking about the research we've done over the last 3 or 4 months, tell you where we're at, and we'll be there with our friends at Epicor, Proton, and Infor. So thanks everybody for joining us today. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.